Lovely.
And we are live for our hangout for this evening in week 4, and we're talking about strategy tonight. Now, one of the things we want to start off with is that this week is nationals for Olivet's tennis team. So Marcy is out of town. We have worked back and forth. She has worked on her part of the presentation. Unfortunately, she could not be here this evening, but she did get her information to us. Chase will end up actually sharing that information as we move through the evening, through the presentation tonight. So people really can't seem to agree on what it is that makes good strategy. In fact, if you do a Google search on good strategy or bad business strategy, actually, you come up with 300 million hits on bad business strategy. So there's really no agreement on what bad business strategy is or what constitutes bad business strategy. However, there is an agreement that bad strategy can kill a good business. In a July 2011 article on CBSNews.com, they talked about Richard Rummeld's book, Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, and Rummeld's who we're going to be referring to tonight. His book, Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, The Difference and Why It Matters, he says that good strategy is coherent action backed up by argument, an effective mixture of thought and action with a base of underlying structure that I call a kernel. A good strategy may consist of more than the kernel, but the kernel is absent or misshapen, then there is a serious problem. Rummelt goes on to say that bad strategy emphasizes planning over execution, fuzzy goals over policies and action, and high-sounding words and phrases over concrete directions and tasks. And then he highlights 4 sure signs of flawed strategies. Now, the first of those sure signs of flawed strategy is the failure to face a challenge, and Chase is going to cover that for us.
Yeah, so the example that we were given for this example was the failure to face a problem with the International Harvester Company. And essentially, here's what happened. The International Harvester Company wanted to maximize profits, like any good company does. They had a goal. They had a meeting with their executive team. And what their decision was that their market share of the agriculture equipment they projected to increase from 16 to 20%. So they saw this as an increase. They saw this as an opportunity to grow, and they were going to pounce on it. However, there was a humongous problem, and the problem is this: they were in the red financially from the production facilities in every single branch. No matter where they were in the country, they were failing financially. They couldn't pay their bills. They couldn't provide an actual solution. So even though they were setting lucrative goals that seemed obtainable at the time, they did not have actual strategies in place to take care of the current problems and issues that they had. They basically tried to run before they could crawl. They tried to tackle other issues and other goals before they actually solved the first problems. Failure to face a problem. And the next one is the mistaking goals for strategy. And Marcy had that, and I'm going to read that off to you guys as well. Basically, many businesses have trouble distinguishing between the difference between goals and strategies. According to the book by Gamble, Pietroff, and Thompson on page 2, an approach to creating superior value for customers and how capabilities and resources will be utilized is to deliver the desired value to the customer. I mean, you basically have to an end. It's great to have resources, it's great to have ideas, but if you can't actually execute them and turn them into profit, that's not strategy. That's just a simple goal. I said the understanding is also encouraged by Porter when stating a competitive strategy is a combination of the ends/goals for which the firm is striving to the means by which it's seeking to get there. The essential notion of strategy is captured in its distinction between the ends and the means. So this taking goals for strategy means there's a point A and a point B, and there's no in between. They're just 2 separate concepts. And again, we talked about both topics of literature provided by our class by Gamble and Porter, Essentials of Strategic Management and the Competitive Strategy both talked about that. And I believe Caroline has our next topic. Caroline, go ahead.
Actually, I do.
No, you do. Never mind, Rob.
Bad strategic objectives. That's okay.
Gotcha.
Bad strategic objectives really is not having a clear idea of where it is you want to go. Basically having fuzzy objectives that are nebulous and nobody can really understand, or having what's called like a blue sky idea of strategy. So basically, setting your strategy as this is what we really, really, really want. That's not
Right.
setting strategy. That's kind of just pie in the sky and making a wish and hoping that at some point it works out. Now, in contrast, you focus your energies and your resources on the things that you want to have happen, then you're really doing the strategy right. You're doing things the way they need to be done. You're focusing on what the business is there to actually achieve. So that is kind of the third part of what is bad strategy. The fourth part of bad strategy is fluff, and since it starts with an F, Felicia has that one for us. Felicia.
All right. So what is fluff? Imagine white clouds in the sky. The description of clouds is fluffy. So when related to business strategy, fluff describes a form of gibberish masquerading as a strategy. It's mediocre and it's superficial. It has no substance. And it just covers up the real deal. And one of the words they use a lot is buzz phrase. What is buzz phrasing? Sounds good, it feels good, but it has no substance at all. Okay, so in order for an organization to get past that, they have to have something with substance. And the fluff and making it sound good, it looks good, it passes over. It's just a waste of time. The example they use is here in the bank, they say customer centric. So the bank is their purpose is their customer centric and they're serving their customers, but that's what a bank does. That's their whole purpose is to serve customers and operate as a bank. So in the same breath, the same sense here, fluff is just a strategy that they're using. It's not the real deal. You have to ask what's really going on here. So in that text, we're looking at what is bad, what are inability to choose. You have to make good choices, and sometimes that's tough. You have to compromise. You have to work with your other leaders in the company and make decisions. And sometimes you may not like that decision that they're making, or it doesn't look good, or it doesn't feel good, and it's the easy way out. But you have to diagnose the issue, choose the best option, and make rational decisions, or you're going to end up with mediocrity and trivial decisions that are going to cause you to fail.
All right, and so those are the four signs that certainly you have bad strategy. So why is there so much bad strategy out there? And Chase is going to cover, there's a couple of reasons for that covered in Rumboldt's article. And Chase is going to cover the first one, and that's basically just the inability of somebody to choose good strategy.
Sure. The example again provided by the article online was EC in 1992. Basically, this company was in charge of making money-saving decisions for a tech company, essentially, and they basically got in the boardroom, and here's what they did. Each person had their own individual goal. They say, we want to do this and we want to do that. And they kind of were in the same ballpark, but they couldn't agree to some of these things. At the end of the day, at the end of the meeting, none of them were able to make a decision on what kind of direction they wanted to go. So what they did is they had a media press release and basically released something incredibly vague, something this company is going to continue to develop its products to essentially satisfy our customers. Something very fluffy, like kind of what Felicia went off of. Something very fluffy, something very, very vague. And at the end of the day, they didn't choose anything. All they did was think of some things they could do. It didn't address the problem. They still had the problems there, but they were just aware of what everybody thought. But they didn't actually make a decision. They just decided to go with the fluffiest, best statement that satisfied everybody, even though it didn't propel the company or problem solving. And that eventually that was their downfall. That's one reason.
And then the next reason that's covered in the article is because of using template style strategy, and that Marcy was going to cover that, so Chase has that for us too.
Yeah. Yeah, here's what she has. Formulating strategy is vital to every business successor. Similar to foundings in a building. If a foundation is weak, the building's not going to stand on its own. In this template style strategy, there are four different components to building a successful business plan. First, you have to have the vision. You have to basically develop a vision, an idea of where you want to go. The second, you have to inspire people to make sacrifices. A lot of people want to make changes. A lot of people want to head toward a certain direction. But when it comes time to get their hands dirty, there are very few people that actually want to get their hands dirty and execute that actual vision. The third people, and this comes back to leadership, empowering people to accomplish that vision. People, again, going off of number 2, they're going to be scared. They're going to be hesitant to make some changes and to go the actual direction they want to go to. So it's kind of the leader's job to not only build that foundation, but to continue oversee that foundation as it's built. You have to empower people. And then the fourth is overall just staying consistent with what you do. It's all fun and games when you're at the first 3 levels, but if you're constantly changing where you're going, if you're constantly telling people different things, they're never going to respond. They're always going to be asking questions, and at the end of the day, you're not going to get to where you want to go. And again, this is based on the article, The Perils of Bad Strategy, from McKinsey Quarterly, provided online as well. That's what Marcy had for us.
All right. So what constitutes good strategy? A little bit earlier in the introduction, when I opened our discussion tonight, I talked about how Rumbold talks about having that kernel of good strategy, and Caroline's going to cover that for us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, for just a tidbit of agriculture information, the International Harvester is no longer just International Harvester. They now team up with Case, and so it has become Case IH. And Case IH and New Holland, which used to be Ford, fall under this huge umbrella of one company, and they actually make the same tractors. They're just different colors. You don't really know. There's not a huge difference with that. But besides that, the Colonel's good strategy, Horstein describes change as a complex, systematic phenomenon that involves the interdependence of a multiplicity of variables. And when we look at good strategy, we want to make sure that the kernel of good strategy, we want to make sure that we're maximizing the potential of our leadership by utilizing realistic information about the current organizational structure, activity, and environment to determine the steps we need to take in order to have a new outcome and be successful. Strategic change considers as many factors as possible in determining leadership action to achieve improvement. So it's not just considering one small factor like some of these others are. It's considering the best factors. Emotional interactions are best considered in a strategic model for change that include guiding policy and rational leadership. With this, it can inspire confidence and predict reasonable objectives. So we are wanting to just bring all the things together, pick out the bad parts, and bring them all together, and that's what composes the kernel of good strategy.
All right. So as you can see, there is no one thing that makes good strategy, and good strategy doesn't really guarantee the long-term survival of a business, but bad strategy certainly can kill good business. Anything else anybody wants to add before we finish up this evening? All right. Thank you for your time. What's that, Caroline?
I think that you have to, it's not just one strategy. You can't just use one strategy to solve all your problems. Right. It's going to have to be several strategies coming together to fix it.
All right.
That's all.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic.